you've been doing your research and you're thinking about a move to Moore, Oklahoma, but maybe you've heard some things that make you a little bit nervous, and what you really need is a local expert, a guide who can walk you through the pros and the cons, the good and the bad of what it's really like to live in Moore, Oklahoma. Well, that's exactly what we're going to cover in this video. I'll take you through some of the pros of living in Moore, some of the things it's got going for it, as well as some of those cons, some of those things that you might want to dig in a little deeper as you're doing your research before relocating to this area. And be sure to stick around till the end of the video. I'll reveal the #1 most asked thing about living in Moore, Oklahoma. And we're going to get after it right now. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything about living in Oklahoma City and the surrounding areas like Moore or Norman or Mustang, Yukon or Edmond, then go ahead and subscribe below and tap that notification bell. That way you can be the first to know about the current market in the Oklahoma City metro area. My name is Ben, and I get contacted every day from folks just like you who are looking for help to relocate to the Oklahoma City area, and I love helping them do that. Whether you're looking to move in a week, a month, a year, whatever your time frame looks like, go ahead and give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I would love to begin the conversation with you, help you determine what area in Oklahoma City might be right for you, and ultimately make that smooth transition to this area. So like I said, today we're talking about Moore, Oklahoma, the pros and cons of living in Moore. Now, the town of Moore was actually established in 1889. And legend has it that there was this guy named Al Moore who lived in a boxcar next to the railroad tracks. And the train would come through with the mail from time to time. And sometimes they would miss Mr. Moore's boxcar. They would just blow right past it. And so what he did to remedy this was he went out and painted his name on the side of the boxcar in huge letters so that the train knew to stop and deliver his mail. And thus the town of Moore was born. And that was actually about 18 years before the state of Oklahoma achieved statehood, even became the state of Oklahoma. And Moore has quite a few things going for it, and one thing that might make you think twice about relocating to the area. So the city of Moore borders Oklahoma City on the southern side. It's actually surrounded by Oklahoma City as well on the east and west sides because that geographic area of Oklahoma City is quite large, but Moore is the closest suburb on the south side of Oklahoma City. It has a population of about 62,000 people, and most of those residents commute into Oklahoma City for work. Now, Moore has a ton of great things going for it, and we're going to dive into those pros and cons right now. Pro #1 of living in Moore, Oklahoma is the location. As I mentioned, it's immediately to the south of Oklahoma City. It borders the southern side of Oklahoma City, and so you've got a quick, short drive into the city from Moore. Now, depending on which part of the suburb of Moore you're coming from, it may take you anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes to drive to downtown Oklahoma City. So that's certainly something you want to take into consideration. I'll do a deeper dive on the routes to get into the city and get around Moore because there are multiple ways to get into Oklahoma City from Moore. But for now, just know that that location is definitely one of the biggest pros of living in Moore. Moving on to con #1 of living in Moore, and that is the lack of outdoor activities. Moore is primarily kind of a bedroom community. It doesn't have any lakes really. There are some parks in Moore and some other amenities as well that I'll talk about here in a moment. But in terms of that kind of outdoor life that you might find in Oklahoma City or even in Norman, just to the south of Moore, or Midwest City, Moore doesn't really have those things. The hiking trails, the lakes, all of that sort of outdoor life. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you're not going to find much of that in Moore. You'll have to drive maybe 15 minutes to the south to Norman or up into Oklahoma City or even Midwest City if that outdoor life is something that you are looking for. Pro #2 of living in Moore, Oklahoma is the school systems. According to the website niche.com, Moore schools get a rating of A-. Now, Oklahoma as a whole doesn't have a great reputation for education, just being honest here. But Moore does have some of the better schools in the state of Oklahoma. Now, obviously, as with any move that you are considering, you want to do your research. You want to talk to principals and school teachers before choosing a neighborhood to be sure that you're comfortable with the education system that your kids will be going to in that area. Con number 2 of living in Moore, Oklahoma is the traffic. You guys, the traffic gets really bad, especially in that morning commute when you're trying to get into Oklahoma City from Moore, or even coming the other way. And this is something that there are ways to get around it. There are other routes that you can take into Oklahoma City. And I'm going to do a deeper dive into all of that in the map video, so be sure and watch that video. But just know that if you are making a commute into Oklahoma City, you're going to be fighting traffic. And so you need to plan ahead, because I-35 gets really jammed up early in the morning and again in the evening as people are going to and from work. So con number 2, living in Moore, Oklahoma, is traffic. Pro number 3 of living in Moore, Oklahoma is the amenities that are available in the suburb, the town of Moore. You've really got everything that you need. There are loads of restaurants of all kinds, so plenty of international cuisine as well as national chains and even local chains. You've also got a great water park called The Station, which is really popular with families during the summer. There's an axe throwing place called the Twisted Axe. They've got an IMAX theater at the Warren Theater that's there in Moore. Urban Air Adventure Park. I could go on and on. There are plenty of things to do in Moore, so it really is self-contained. You don't have to make a trip down to Norman or up into Oklahoma City to find what you're looking for. There are also plenty of grocery stores in Moore, Oklahoma, and so everything that you need, you've got right there in the community of Moore. Moving on to con number 3 about living in Moore, Oklahoma. This is the number 1 most asked thing by people who are considering a move to Moore, Oklahoma. Con number 3 is the weather in Moore. Moore, Oklahoma is in a part of the state that is known as Tornado Alley. What that means is that there are tornadoes that frequently come through that part of the state. And there have been multiple major tornadoes throughout the last 100 years or so that have inflicted damage on the community of Moore. Specifically, the tornadoes in 1999 and 2013 were devastating. They leveled many homes and businesses. There were lives lost in both of those tornadoes, tragically. Here's the bottom line with severe weather in Moore, Oklahoma. You definitely want to factor that in. Take it into consideration as you're looking at moving to this area. But know that we have very sophisticated prediction and warning systems for tornadoes, and many of the homes have tornado shelters in them. So while it is something to consider, it shouldn't be something that causes you to live in fear. And pro number 4 of living in Moore, Oklahoma is the affordability. According to the website bestplaces.net, the cost of living in Moore, Oklahoma is 11.6% lower than the national average. And the average home price in Moore, Oklahoma at the time of this recording is $247,000, which is about $27,000 lower than the average home price in Oklahoma City just to the north. So in Moore, Oklahoma, your dollar goes a little bit further when you're purchasing real estate. So the affordability is definitely a pro and something to consider if you are looking at moving to the community of Moore. Well, that covers the pros and the cons for living in Moore, Oklahoma. If you are considering a move to Moore or one of the other areas surrounding Oklahoma City, I would love to have a conversation with you and help you figure out which area is best for you and your family. Whether your move is coming up in a week, a month, a year, whatever your time frame looks like, go ahead and reach out to me. Give me a call, a text, send me an email. I'd love to begin the conversation and help you make that smooth transition to the Oklahoma City area. Thanks for watching this video today, and remember, with living in Oklahoma City, your dream home is just around the corner. I'll see you in the next video.